My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm here to talk with you today about race, identity, and how we're making sense of the present moment. So first, I'm a PhD student. I study race, ethnicity, class, inequality, implicit bias. I had the opportunity to study these things because of a vast amount of privilege and a vast amount of luck. So not everyone has that awakening moment that says, go and do this, go and make these changes, learn about these things. And what I'm hearing from a lot of folks is that this moment is scary. One, because of all that's happening in the world, but two, because we're called to talk about things and think about things in a different way, in a way that for many of us shakes our worldview, shakes our sense of who we are and how we fit into this society. So I don't expect you all in the audience to be coming from a place of, wokeness or coming from a place of a fully formed opinion about these topics. I did not come out of the womb with my fist in the air, ready to take on these topics. It was a process of learning. I didn't have my first class about race and inequality until I was a master's student, which means I went through K through 12, I went through undergrad, I went through a master's degree, and it shouldn't take that long. So I'm here to talk with you all today about some tidbits that I learned along the way and some what we call in PhD theoretical land, awakening moments. So first, I'm going to take you back to me at age 3. I'm in the bathtub. I'm hanging out with my dad. We're playing the colors game, right? So he points at the soap and is like, "What color, Tor?" And I'm like, "It's green for sure. I got this." Then he points at the sink and he says, "What color is that?" And I said, "White, like mommy and me." And I don't know how much of my race you can read off my face, but I'm not a white person. My mother is, though. I'm biracial. So my dad's Black and my mom's white. So I identify as biracial and I identify as Black, but I don't identify as white. If you'd like to learn more about that, that's a keynote for another day. I'm happy to come back. But that was one of my first awakening moments. I don't know if I remember that story or if I remember my parents talking to me about that story, but it was formative to the person that I would become. Second awakening period. It's 6th grade. I move, or I guess I matriculate into middle school, out of an elementary school that was predominantly white into a middle school that is predominantly Black and Latinx. I'm thinking it's about to be on and poppin'. I'm finally going to be with people that look like me, people that are going to get it. And then that happened. I did that for 2 years. And then honors track started. And suddenly I was only seeing people that looked like me in the hallway, at the cafeteria, and in gym class. All of the honors class had 2 Black girls, me and my neighbor down the street, 1 Asian student and 1 Latino student. And so I found myself wondering, I'm not smarter than the students who look like me. I don't deserve this more. Maybe I'm just being invested in a different way. And that was true. And then in undergrad, I went to Northeastern University, which is a fairly diverse school, but not in their Black population. It rests around 4% or less. And so my first week of classes, another woman student asked me how many IB courses I took. I did not hear the words International Baccalaureate until I got to college. And so I realized pretty quickly, a lot of the people that I was in classes with now at university knew what they were doing. They knew how college worked. They took college prep. They took SAT prep. They had parents who went to college, siblings who went to college. I didn't really have that. My parents went to college, but not till I was a kid. So they didn't have that sort of 18 through 22 point of reference like many of my peers' parents did. And I started to think that I wasn't supposed to be there. I started to wonder if I got in because I was an athlete, if I got in because I was Black. And those messages are really poisonous, right? Because they tell students that maybe you slipped through the cracks, maybe you don't actually have what it takes. And we begin to believe that about ourselves, but it's not true. I learned that as I got older, as I took courses and realized, these kids might not actually be smarter than me. They're giving the game up here. So further into college, Black Lives Matter started. And I remember sitting in the dining hall when the first videos of Eric Garner's murder were shown on the news. And Eric Garner had a stature very, very similar to my dad. So when I couldn't see his face, it looked like him on the TV. And I'm sitting in the dining hall in tears, surrounded by my teammates. And my teammates were predominantly Black, so they get it. Not to say that my other friends didn't, but at that time, they didn't. So I go home to my roommates. Some of them are my teammates, some of them are my sorority sisters. It's 2 Black women and 2 white women. I am one of the Black women. And so we're talking about this, and my white roommates didn't have a frame of reference. They grew up wealthy and they grew up white. They didn't have a frame of reference for what it felt like to grow up Black and poor. And so it's weeks down the line, or months rather, and Eric Gardner's murderer does not get indicted. And I'm devastated. So me and my roommate, who is also a Black woman, are saying, we're going to go to the protest in Boston tonight. I believe it was January, or at least winter. Boston's very cold. So we're like, get your coats on, ladies. We're going to the protest. Get on the train. Let's go. And my 2 roommates, who were white women, leave their bedroom to come into the living room where me and my other roommate are for an insurrection. They have very clearly come up with a script to perform to us, and they say verbatim, this is going to be about race. We are white and we don't want to go. And I'm devastated. I'm choking back tears, trying to plead with them, saying, an American man was killed by the police. The police are supposed to protect us, and they're not doing that. Does not make you upset. And they're saying, yeah, it makes us upset, but it's about race and we don't identify in that way. And so we're not going, and they refuse to go. What that taught me is that my friends were not beyond the scope of learning more. They just hadn't done it yet. Years down the line, those women now are going to the Black Lives Matter protests. They're talking about Black Lives Matter. They're doing the work, they're doing the reading, they're doing the activism. So that's to say that you may not be there now at a place where you can talk about these things, but don't wait until you're perfect, because you might not start, but start now.